Okay, so let's start the exercise question today. First we have the fill in the blanks. So I would want you, if you have any doubts, you can just put it up in the chat box, and right now we'll be able to resolve all your queries. Fine. So let's start with the first fill in the blank. Friction opposes the dash between the surfaces in contact with each other. What is that which friction opposes? Friction opposes something. Friction is opposite to what? Friction is opposite to the motion. It always acts opposite to the motion. So friction opposes, here it is motion. Okay, friction opposes the motion between the surfaces in contact with each other. Let's look at the second one. Friction depends on the dash of the surfaces. What is that of the surfaces? Friction depends on dash. Friction depends on many things. Friction depends on the weight. Okay, the weight of the surface cannot be the answer. So friction depends on the nature of the surfaces. If it is smooth, friction will be very less. If it is rough, friction will be very, very high. So it depends on the nature of the surfaces. Second, friction produces dash. What does it produce? Friction produces heat. It produces heat. We discussed about heat in the last session. When we rub our hands and if our hands are dry, then friction gives out heat. Okay. Next is sprinkling of powder on the carom board will dash the friction. What happens when you sprinkle the powder on the carom board? The coin starts to move quickly. Okay, the coin starts to move quickly. So basically your movement of the coin becomes very, very fast. So that means when you add the powder, the friction should become less. The friction should become less. So it will reduce the friction. Okay. So the next one is reduce the friction. Okay. Next is sliding friction is dash than the static friction. Sliding friction is dash than the static friction. So you all know that static friction, what happens? The two objects are in contact with each other and they are stationary. And when they are stationary, the interlockings are actually, the irregularities are perfectly locked into each other. So that's why the static friction is more. So in this case, what should be the answer? Sliding friction is less than. Very good, very rightly said. It is lesser than the static friction. Very nice. Okay. So now let's see. Now there are 4 children. They were asked to arrange forces due to rolling, static and sliding friction in an increasing order. Their arrangement are given below. Choose the correct order. So first you have to understand how do you have to arrange it. You have to arrange all these friction in decreasing order. Decreasing means the larger friction should be in the beginning, then the lesser one, and then the least one. So out of these, this is I hope pretty easy for you. Which is the largest one? The largest one is static. Then next one is sliding, and next one is rolling. So do we have that option here? Static, sliding and rolling. Static, sliding and rolling. So option C. Yes, Ayush, it is option C which is the right answer. The largest friction is static because everything is stationary, right? So that is the correct answer. Next, let's see this. Alida runs her toy car on a dry marble floor, wet marble floor, newspaper and towel spread on the floor. The force of friction acting on the car on different surfaces in increasing order will be. So now you have to write it in increasing order. Increasing means first should be the least one, then slightly more, then the largest one. So where is the friction least here? Remember, friction should be least wherever the surface is very wet or it is soapy or it is slippery. So first of all, in which case is the friction? So let's see the first one. Wet marble surface, very good, because it is wet as well as it is marble surface. Yes. Then the dry marble surface, then the newspaper, and then the towel, because towel is the most rough surface. Yes, the option A is correct. Very nice. The option A is the correct one. So we need not actually go through the other option, because look at the other option. You have newspaper, which is again slightly rough. Then you have towel, which is the roughest. Okay. Then the last one is wet marble floor, dry marble floor, towel, and newspaper. So the last two options are given, interchange. So the first option is the correct one. Okay. Next one, look at this, very easy again. Suppose your writing desk is little tilted. So this is how you sit in the class. Your desk is a little tilted one. Now a book is kept and the book starts to slide down. So let's say the book is sliding down something like this. In this direction, the book is sliding. It is coming down. Can you show me the direction of friction force in this case? If the book is sliding in this direction, in which direction will the friction? So this is the motion of the book. Okay, this is the motion of the book. In which direction will the friction act? The friction will act in the opposite direction. So you have to mark the direction of the friction force. This is the direction of the friction force. Okay, whichever direction the book is sliding down, the opposite direction will be your friction force. So this, you have to draw this diagram and mark the friction force. Okay, was it easy? Yeah, left one. Okay, next, you spill a bucket of soapy water on the marble floor accidentally. Okay, so what is happening is you somehow accidentally hit the bucket and all the soap water comes out. Would it be easier for you or would it be difficult for you to walk on that floor? Okay, it's a soapy floor, remember. All the soap water is all over the surface. So will it be easy for you? Will you be able to walk properly like this in the first case? Or it will be difficult and you may fall down like in the second case? So most likely the second option is the correct option. It is very difficult for you to walk. Now you have to reason out. You all know in simple English that it's very difficult for you to walk. But give me an answer in physics. Let us talk physics, right, in this class. So what is the answer? The answer is that the surface here is smooth surface. And when the surface is smooth, the friction becomes less. And when the friction becomes less, our movement becomes large. The movement increases, means the movement becomes high. See, all of you know that it is difficult to walk, but you have to give me an answer. Okay, you have to reason. Give me a reason, which is very important. So first reason is that because the surface is smooth, that's why the friction force is very less. Because the friction force is less, the movement of the body or our movement is going to be very, very large. So when the movement is large, there are high chances that we may slip easily. Okay, that is the correct. So note down all these 3 points that are supposed to be in your answers. Very important. The points are very important. Okay, directly you cannot give me an answer. You have to reason, give a reason. Okay. Next is, explain why sportsmen use shoes with spikes. So am I talking about these spikes? Am I talking about these kinds of spikes that the sportsmen use? Absolutely not. What kind of spikes am I talking about? I'm talking about these kind of spikes. Okay, I'm talking about these kind of spikes. Have you seen some when they play hockey, they have those spikes, at the bottom of their shoes, which look something like these kinds of spikes that you see here. Okay, these are the spikes. So why do they use spikes? They use spikes because what does the spikes do? The spikes will make the surface rough. Okay, it will make the surface rough. Fine. So what happens when the surface is rough? When the surface is rough, then the friction will be very high. And when the friction will be very high, your movement is going to be very, very low. When the friction is high, your movement is going to be very, very less. So when your movement is less, you will be able to have a good grip of the ground. Okay, of the football ground. So that's why you would want those spikes to be present in your shoes. You can't play with, in your slippers, which are much more smoother as compared to these shoes with spikes. So that is the reason. So do note down these points. Rough surface, friction being more and movement is going to be less. That's why you are going to have a good grip. Just by saying good grip, okay, whoever is going to write good grip doesn't fetch you marks, will not fetch you marks at all. You have to reason why the grip is good. Fine? Okay. Now look at this. Iqbal has to push a lighter box and Seema has to push a, similar box, but it is heavy now. Okay, so you have Iqbal and Seema both trying to push the box here. But Iqbal is a lucky person, so he gets to push a very, very lighter box, and maybe the box is like 5 kgs. Okay, now the girl, she is not as lucky as the boy, so she is getting to push 25 kgs. So who will have to apply larger force? Who will have to apply larger force? Obviously, the box which is heavy, he or she will have to apply larger force. So in this case, this girl Seema will have to push and apply more force. Again, why? What is the reason? The reason is that the heavy object will have more friction. The heavier the object, the more the friction. So the friction in this case is going to be very large. Okay, if the friction is going to be very large, then the movement is going to be very less. So it won't move easily. So what do you have to do? You have to apply a larger force. Iqbal will have to apply only smaller force. Yeah, the girl. Very nice, the girl. So Seema will have to apply larger force. But again, I told you the reasoning is very important. What is the reason? Because it is heavy, more the weight, more the friction, lesser the movement. Fine? Is it clear to all of you? Okay. Next. Explain why the sliding friction is less than the static friction. Explain why sliding friction is less than the static friction. Now, what did we learn in the chapter while discussing? Okay, Vanshika is saying because her box is heavy. Yes, because the box is heavy. Very good. So let's move to this question. Explain why the sliding friction is less than the static friction. So you all know that sliding is less, but why? So in the first case, the body is sliding down. In the second case, the body is just at rest here. So which is having more friction? Static friction is more friction because yes, very nice, Sanvi. Okay, because there are irregularities in the case of static friction. The irregularities are there, which will have more time for interlocking. So if you remember, look at this slide. We explained in this case of static friction. Look at the irregularities here. Both the irregularities, this is the top surface, this is the bottom surface here. So both the surface have got these irregularities. And what is happening to these irregularities? They are perfectly interlocked. So this is more important. The time of interlocking of irregularities is more in the case of static friction. Okay? Whereas in the case of sliding friction, because the object is already sliding. Look, the object is already moving against each other. So they will not have enough time for locking themselves. Very less time for locking as compared to static friction. That's why you say that the static friction is the largest friction. Fine? Okay. So, no problems at all till here. Should we move ahead? Okay. Next question, which is given in your, your exercises. Give examples to show friction is a friend and or a foe. So I told you, while we were conducting the previous classes also, this slide is very important. You have all the points. So friend as foe means you're supposed to write down how the friction helps you in your daily activities. And friction as friend, how it helps you, how friction helps you in your daily activities. Whereas friction as foe, you have to write down what is the negative part of the friction. Which are those activities where it doesn't help you so much. In fact, it is a disadvantage for you. So you are supposed to, yes, it Very correctly written. It helps us in walking, it helps us in writing, it helps us in digging nail. So there are many advantages. But at the same time, there are disadvantages also. What are the disadvantages? It produces heat, it produces sound which you don't want. Reduced efficiency, very important point. Please don't lose this point anywhere. It's a very important point. Reduce efficiency. Efficiency means output. Okay. Suppose there's a machine. Okay. And let's say washing machine or any kind of mixer or grinder. Now he is able to do so much of work. You can get so much of work out of a machine. So that is the efficiency of the machine. Okay, means output. But suppose one day it stops working. So what is going to happen? You are not able to get any output from that machine. So that means the efficiency of the machine has gone down. Okay. The efficiency of the machine has gone down. So write down all the disadvantages when he's asking you how is friction your enemy or your evil or a foe. All these carry the same meaning. So this slide I'm not going to explain again because we have already done it. Okay. Explain why objects moving in fluid must have a special shape. Okay. So he's asking any object when it is moving inside any fluid, why is it necessary that it should have a particular shape? And what kind of shape was that? We discussed this also. We discussed what kind of a shape was that? It was a streamline shape. Look at the streamline, the shape of this streamline shape. This is something like a bird kind of shape. Okay, like the shape of the fish. Okay, shape of birds, most of the birds. Aeroplane, all these are streamline shape. And what is the reason? I have already, noted down all the points, but let me first explain you. First of all, any body which is moving through any liquid is supposed to have the least friction. Why? Friction कम होगा तो क्या होगा? अगर हमारा friction कम होगा तो हमारा जो movement है वो ज़्यादा होगा. We'll be able to move much faster. So that's why we want our friction to reduce as much as possible. Okay. And suppose I told you in the previous classes, suppose you have a square shaped object and let's say we attach some wings here and it is moving in this direction. Okay, let me make it proper square only. Suppose if it is moving in this direction. So whatever the air is coming from front, this entire area, this square area is actually open. And all the air which is coming, the air is going to actually strike the front surface of the object. So the more the area, the more airflow it is going to encounter. And the more the airflow it is going to encounter, then the friction will be more. So this square shaped body will not be able to move quickly or faster. So what generally you do, have you seen sometimes when you're trying to ride your cycle faster, what do? You bend down very, very close to your handles. Okay, you just bend your bodies. Why do you bend your bodies? Because you don't want so much of surface area to be exposed to the air. Because the more the surface area, the more is going to be the friction. जितना आपका surface area ज़्यादा होगा, उतनी ही हवा आपके पूरे body पे strike होगी. Okay, so जितने एरिया पे आपकी पूरी एयर स्ट्राइक होगी उतना वो आपको आगे जाने से रोकेगी. करेक्ट? दैट्स व्हाई you would want your area to be as less as possible. Which is that shape which helps you to reduce the area. This is the shape that helps you to reduce your area or the friction for that matter. Correct? So look at this. Fluid friction depends on the shape of the body. It depends on three things that it depended on. You can just go through and refer to the last class. Three things. The nature of the fluid, then the shape of the object and the speed. Three things it depended on. Okay, the fluid friction. So first is the shape of the object it depends on. Now the shape required for reducing the friction is called streamline shape, because streamline shape is going to reduce the friction. The lesser the friction, then the movement is going to be more, which is what I have written in the last line. When the object comes in contact with the air flow around the streamlined body will flow around the streamlined body. So all the air will go and flow around the streamlined body. Thus, it will reduce the friction and the movement will be much, much faster. Okay, so that is the reason why you please note down all these points, because see all the points that I have all the PPTs that I have made, they are made in such a way that you have question on the top and answer at the bottom. So questions plus answers both are readily available to you. So you can just go through the slides and study them. Okay, so we have finished the chapter here. Now I have a small quiz for you. What I will be doing is, it is 16:23 now. You take 10 minutes. I'm just going to forward you the link, just like we have done it in the last time we conducted one quiz. So this time also I'm just forwarding you a quiz. There are few questions. All the questions are just 1 marks, 2 marks. You have to just select the best option and then send it to me. Fine. So I'm sending you the link. Please be available with this live streaming session right now. After you forward, you have to come up on the chat box and let me know whether you have already sent the link back to me. Okay, and then at 16:45 maybe I will tell you when to log out of the live streaming. But till then you have to finish it. I'm also watching. You are also sitting and finishing the quiz. Let me see how many of you give me the quiz, the answers back in just about 10 minutes, because they are all multiple choice questions. Are you all ready? Just give me thumbs up so that I can send you the link.